Have you ever stopped to think about how constant complaining might be stealing your peace? In a world where everything seems out of control, it's easy to fall into the trap of frustration, anger, and a sense of helplessness. But what if I told you that the key to true emotional freedom lies not in what happens around you, but in how you react to it? Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, offers a powerful answer to this question. Instead of giving in to impulsive reactions or getting lost in daily complaints, it teaches us to control our responses, find serenity in chaos, and cultivate lasting inner peace. Are you tired of feeling at the mercy of your emotions? Do you want to learn how to stay in control, even when everything seems to be falling apart around you? Then this video is for you. Today, we'll explore how Stoicism can transform the way you react to adversity, moving you away from a victim mindset and putting you in charge of your emotional life. Get ready to discover the power of stopping complaints and starting to act with wisdom in any situation. Write in the comments, what's stopping me from controlling my reactions? Let's reflect on this together and take the first step toward transformation. If you're ready to learn how to live more calmly, balanced, and with a level of self-control that seems impossible to achieve, keep watching. If you enjoyed this content and want to continue this journey of transformation, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments. Life sometimes throws unexpected challenges at us. It feels like a constant test, pushing us to the limits of our patience and mental strength. But what if I told you that the greatest obstacles can become the key to your growth? Stoicism teaches us that adversity is not an enemy, but a teacher in disguise. Instead of lamenting or resisting, it guides us to accept what we cannot control and transform how we react. When the storm hits, we no longer need to be swept away by the emotional current. We can learn to be the steady point, at peace, amidst the turmoil. And that, my friend, starts with a simple shift in perspective. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, trapped in a jam. Frustration builds as time drags on, and the feeling of losing control tightens your chest. Now imagine that instead of complaining or cursing, you take a deep breath and think, I can't control the traffic, but I can control my reaction. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our reach, our actions, our words, and most importantly, our thoughts. Instead of letting anger or anxiety take over, we're invited to cultivate calm. This practice of self-control is true liberation. Each time we resist the urge to react impulsively, we're training our minds for lasting peace, for a quiet wisdom that comes from accepting the present moment. It's a subtle but powerful shift. By embracing Stoic philosophy, we begin to see that there's no room for the victim role in our lives. Stoicism challenges us to take full responsibility for our reactions, and paradoxically, this gives us the power to become immune to adversity. Instead of blaming others, circumstances, or life for our frustrations, Stoicism offers a rare freedom, the freedom to choose how to respond. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to practice acceptance and strengthen our mental resilience. This is the path to turning adversity into a tool for growth, rather than something that diminishes us. Stoicism invites us to look at life differently, especially when it comes to how we react to challenges. When we play the victim, we're actually handing our power over to something or someone else. We say that external circumstances determine our emotions and actions, but Stoicism challenges us to see it another way. It teaches us that true strength doesn't come from controlling others or situations, but from how we choose to respond to them. Instead of blaming the world around us, we're called to look inward and ask, how can I react more consciously and balanced to this? When we realize we can't control what others do, but can control how we respond, we gain immense freedom. It's an act of courage and wisdom to take responsibility for our emotions, rather than placing them in the hands of fate or someone else. Imagine someone insults you. The impulsive reaction might be to respond with anger or resentment. But Stoicism teaches us that we have the power to choose a different response. With calm and awareness, we can decide how to react, Instead of becoming prisoners of our emotions, we become their masters. And that's true freedom, not being controlled by circumstances, but controlling how we face them. This concept is profoundly liberating. Stoicism teaches us that being a victim of circumstances is our choice, not because the situations we face are easy or fair, but because we have the ability to shape our reaction to them. Every time we choose not to give in to anger, fear, or frustration, we're practicing self-control. This isn't a rigid or stifling control, but a process of growth, of realizing that true peace comes from within, not from what happens externally. By adopting this philosophy, we start to see that we are the creators of our emotional reality. Each conscious choice we make in our reactions strengthens us and frees us from the prison of victimhood. Stoicism teaches us something fundamental about life. There are things within our control and things that aren't. The key isn't to fight against what we can't change, but to accept it with wisdom and transform how we respond. Imagine you're facing a tough situation, something completely out of your control. The temptation is to resist, to fight reality, to wish things were different. But Stoicism offers a different perspective. Instead of getting lost in that internal struggle, it calls us to acceptance. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's wisdom. It's realizing that resistance only drains us, while acceptance brings peace. True transformation happens when, instead of agonizing over something beyond our control, we choose to change our perception of what's happening. If something can't be changed, what we can change is our reaction to it. For example, if a situation doesn't go as planned, the first impulse is frustration. But Stoicism teaches us to pause and reflect. What can I learn here? How can I respond in a way that strengthens me? Every challenge is a disguised opportunity to practice inner peace and mental resilience. By learning to accept the uncontrollable, we realize we're in control of our reaction, and that changes everything. The art of acceptance doesn't mean being passive or complacent. On the contrary, it frees us from the slavery of anger and suffering. When we accept reality as it is, without resistance, our mind clears, and that's where we find space to act with wisdom. From there, our reactions become more conscious, more balanced. Instead of reacting impulsively, we respond with calm and focus, seeking the most constructive solution without being consumed by what's beyond our reach. This is the core of Stoicism, not changing what we can't, but transforming our reaction, finding serenity even in chaos. Controlling our emotions can seem like a Herculean task, especially in moments of tension or stress. But Stoicism offers a powerful perspective. Emotions, no matter how intense, are not uncontrollable. The real question isn't about avoiding feelings, but about responding to them wisely and balanced. The first step to controlling emotions with Stoic wisdom is recognizing that while we can't control external situations, we can always control how we choose to react. This realization changes everything. By becoming aware of our emotions, we take the first step toward transformation. It's not about suppressing feelings, but understanding what they tell us and acting consciously. Stoicism teaches us to pause and reflect before reacting. Imagine someone provokes, irritates, or challenges you. The initial impulse might be to yell, respond with anger, or seek revenge. But Stoicism proposes a pause, a moment to reflect. In that space between stimulus and response lies a golden opportunity to choose how to react. Stoic wisdom suggests that instead of reacting impulsively, we use this pause to make a more conscious choice. Ask yourself, what's really worth it here? What will I gain from this emotional reaction? How can I act more calmly and rationally? This practice isn't just effective, it's transformative, shaping our reactions to strengthen us rather than weaken us. Ultimately, Stoicism teaches us that controlling our emotions doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. On the contrary, it means learning to act more rationally and compassionately, both toward others and ourselves. By practicing Stoic wisdom daily, we begin to develop refined emotional control. not by forcing ourselves to suppress emotions, but by navigating them with calm and clarity. This requires discipline, yes, but also a great deal of self-compassion. We're human, and feeling is part of who we are. Emotional control isn't about ignoring or denying emotions, but about responding to them with wisdom and discernment, creating an inner space of peace, even when the world around us seems chaotic. We live in a world where external pressure is constant. Society demands more, modern life is full of distractions and unexpected challenges. With so much beyond our control, it's easy to fall into the temptation of complaining and feeling unjustly treated. But Stoicism, with its timeless wisdom, invites us to pause and reflect on a simple truth. Complaining never changes anything. However, the way we choose to act in the face of adversity can change everything. Stoicism challenges us to abandon the victim mindset and adopt a mindset of action. Instead of complaining, we're called to be agents of change in our own lives, starting with how we react to the challenges we face. When we apply Stoicism in our daily lives, we start to realize how much our emotional reactions are shaped by our perception of things. Stoicism teaches us that complaining stems from resisting what we can't control. Instead of fighting the inevitable, it invites us to accept reality as it is, without losing serenity. This doesn't mean being passive in the face of difficulties, but acting with wisdom. If something can't be changed, our energy should be channeled into what we can control, our attitude, thoughts, and actions. By doing so, we not only free ourselves from frustration, but also gain the ability to act more effectively and balanced. In the modern world, where we're constantly bombarded with stimuli and information, practicing Stoicism becomes a form of healthy resistance. Instead of wasting time and energy complaining, we can redirect them to what truly matters. Acting with wisdom, staying calm amidst chaos, and making choices that can truly transform our reality. Stoicism doesn't ask us to be perfect, but to be conscious in our reactions. By stopping complaints, we begin to take control of our own experience, creating a space of peace amidst the whirlwind of modern life. And perhaps the greatest wisdom we can learn is that by acting with calm and clarity, we can transform the most difficult situations into opportunities for growth. Impulsive reactions are like internal storms that arise out of nowhere. Suddenly, something irritates, frustrates, or shakes us, and before we know it, we're making emotional decisions without considering the consequences. Stoicism teaches us that true strength doesn't lie in avoiding these moments, but in learning to handle them with wisdom. Instead of being dominated by the emotional wave, we can learn to surf it, maintaining mental clarity and serenity in the process. It's not about eliminating emotions, but transforming them into an opportunity to practice self-control. Imagine a common situation. Someone offends you and anger rises within you. The natural reaction is to respond in kind, perhaps even escalating the situation with thoughtless words. But within Stoic philosophy, there's an invitation to pause. The first step is to recognize that, no matter how intense the emotions are, they don't have to control us. True wisdom lies in being able to choose our response. Stoicism teaches us to observe the emotion, understand its origin, and instead of reacting impulsively, opt for a more balanced response. This doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing feelings, but acting with a calm mind, without being swept away by the emotional tide. When we cultivate this clarity, we begin to understand that our reactions aren't governed by external situations, but by how we choose to see and handle them. Stoicism teaches us that by focusing on controlling the mind, rather than being carried away by fleeting emotions, we find a serenity that allows us to make more rational and constructive decisions. Each time we resist the urge to react without thinking, we strengthen our ability to act with greater discernment. Over time, this becomes a habit of clarity and serenity, where the mind is at peace, even when the world around seems chaotic. Frustration is a common emotion, but one that often consumes us. Whether it's because we don't get what we want or because expectations aren't met, frustration can be a negative force that pulls us into a cycle of dissatisfaction and discouragement. However, Stoic philosophy offers a valuable tool to deal with it: the mindset of acceptance. Stoicism teaches us that true inner peace doesn't come from the absence of obstacles, but from how we deal with them. Instead of fighting frustration, we can choose to transform it into an opportunity for growth. By changing how we perceive challenges, we can cultivate a deep peace, even in the face of the toughest adversities. Imagine you're working hard toward a goal, but suddenly, something goes wrong. The natural impulse is to get frustrated, question yourself, or even think about giving up. But Stoicism teaches us to look at the situation from a new perspective. Instead of letting frustration take over, we can ask, what can I learn here? How can I use this to become a better person? Every obstacle, every mistake, every failure becomes a lesson that brings us closer to inner peace. The Stoic mindset doesn't deny pain or frustration, but invites us to accept these feelings and use them as fuel for our transformation. Instead of giving in to despair, we're taught to act with wisdom and see beyond momentary frustration. This process takes practice, but over time it becomes second nature. The more we practice the Stoic mindset, the easier it becomes to cultivate inner peace, regardless of circumstances. Instead of getting lost in daily frustrations, we begin to realize we have the power to choose how to react to them. Frustration, then, stops being an obstacle and becomes a springboard for wisdom and serenity. Stoicism offers the key to overcoming frustration and cultivating lasting inner peace, learning to accept what we can't control and responding with calm, clarity, and purpose. Impulsive reactions are one of the greatest traps of the human mind. In a moment of anger or frustration, our first reaction can be instinctive, almost like an electric shock that prevents us from thinking clearly. However, Stoicism teaches us that true emotional mastery doesn't come from the absence of emotions, but from control over how we choose to react to them. When we're dominated by impulse, we let our emotions steer our lives. But by adopting a Stoic approach, we learn to step back, to pause between the stimulus and our reaction. That small space is the key to our emotional freedom. Stoicism doesn't ask us to suppress our emotions, but to observe the internal storm without being swept away by it. Imagine someone challenges or provokes you. The impulsive reaction might be to respond immediately, perhaps with harsh words. But Stoicism suggests that instead of reacting without thinking, we first pause. That moment of reflection can be as simple as taking a deep breath for a few seconds, and in that small gesture, we open a window for conscious choice. The question isn't whether we should feel anger, sadness, or frustration, but how we can respond to those feelings in a way that doesn't harm us or others. Stoicism teaches us to transform impulsive reactions into thoughtful, balanced responses. This control doesn't come instantly and requires daily practice. Each time we choose to pause and reflect before reacting, we're training our minds to act with more wisdom and less impulse. Over time, this practice becomes a natural reflex. Emotional mastery is, therefore, an ongoing process, where each conscious choice brings us closer to a state of emotional balance. Stoicism helps us understand that by learning to control our reactions, we gain not only control over our emotions, but over our own lives. Instead of being hostages to impulses, we can learn to be masters of our inner state, creating a life that's calmer, more balanced, and full of purpose. Provocations are an inevitable part of life. Whether at work, in relationships, or in everyday interactions, the words and actions of others can affect us deeply. But Stoicism teaches us that dignity and inner peace don't depend on how others treat us, but on how we choose to react to it. When someone provokes us, the natural reaction might be to defend ourselves, retaliate, or seek revenge. However, Stoicism challenges us to find a different path, one that allows us to maintain our integrity and serenity regardless of the provocation. Imagine someone makes a malicious comment about you in a conversation. The immediate reaction might be to fire back with something equally cutting. But Stoicism teaches us to adopt a stance of calm, of emotional distance. True dignity, according to Stoic philosophy, lies in not letting the words or actions of others shake our peace. This doesn't mean being passive or allowing abuse, but learning to avoid impulsive reactions and respond with wisdom. When we maintain our composure in the face of provocations, we're not just demonstrating self-control, but sending a clear message. I am stronger than external words and actions. By practicing this calm and balanced response, we begin to become immune to provocations, not because we ignore what affects us, but because we choose our response. Stoicism teaches us that we can't control what others say or do, but we can always control how we react to it. Each time we choose not to react with anger but with dignity, we strengthen our mind and character. We become more resilient not because provocations cease, but because of our ability to maintain inner peace, regardless of what happens to us. This is, in essence, true emotional freedom, not being enslaved by the world's provocations, but being the master of our reactions. Complaints, as common as they are, have a silent power to drain our energy and distort our perception of reality. They trap us in a cycle of dissatisfaction, where we focus more on what we don't have or what's lacking, rather than the possibilities before us. Stoicism, with its profound wisdom, teaches us that the key to emotional freedom lies in abandoning complaints and learning to accept reality as it is. Instead of wasting energy complaining, we can use it to act, to change what's within our control and accept what we cannot. This is the first step toward transforming our lives and our reactions. When we stop complaining, we begin to notice how much we're often resisting the natural flow of life. Stoicism teaches us to see challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than obstacles to avoid. Each time we choose not to complain, we're actually choosing a new perspective on life. This doesn't mean ignoring difficulties or pretending everything is fine, but learning to react with serenity and action. When we free ourselves from the victim mindset and start practicing acceptance, we find an inner peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances. Life, then, becomes a lighter journey, where we are the agents of our own change. This transformation takes practice, but over time it becomes second nature. Stoicism invites us to stop seeing complaints as an automatic response, but as something we can choose to set aside. By doing so, we create space for gratitude, action, and true personal transformation. From the moment we begin to abandon complaints, we become more focused, more resolute, and more at peace with what life offers. Stoicism, then, becomes a powerful tool for changing our relationship with the world around us, and, more importantly, with ourselves. Free yourself from complaints and watch your life flourish in ways you never imagined. Now that you know the tools Stoicism offers, it's time to put them into practice. Knowing the path is useless if you don't take the first step. Stop complaining and start observing your reactions, your way of relating to situations. The power to change your life is in your hands, and it starts with controlling your emotions. Think, what's the next situation where you'll choose to act with calm instead of reacting impulsively? How can you turn frustration into learning and anger into constructive action? I challenge you to put the lessons we discussed today into practice. Make a conscious effort to apply Stoicism in your daily life. How will you react when traffic frustrates you, or when someone provokes you? Your response could be the key to your inner peace. Don't let stress and complaints dominate your life. If you enjoyed this content and want to continue this journey of transformation, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments. Are you ready to stop complaining and start living with more serenity? Write in the comments what you'll change in your life today and share your journey with us.